Hey guys, it's Mr. C and welcome back to Level 6 Math. Today we're doing Lesson 54 in Saxon Math. This is two different concepts, reducing by grouping factors equal to 1, and then the next concept is dividing fractions. The last several lessons have been kind of a review and they've been a little bit easy, quite frankly. That ends today. This is new concepts and they're challenging ones. This is one of those lessons that you'll want to come back to over and over and review throughout the year. So this is tricky. I'm going to take it slow with you today so we can go through this. And just do your best and know that we'll review this several times, so we'll keep going over it. We're going to start by reducing a fraction by grouping factors in the numerator and denominator that are equal to 1. Fortunately, we know how to make things equal to 1. It's by using reciprocals. So we've already laid that foundation. We're just going to use those today. Now, look at this problem. The factors in this are arranged from least to greatest, 2, 2, 3, 5, and we do that in the numerator and denominator. Now we could start, and in future lessons we'll do this, with the number, and then we'll take out the factors. So this 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 is 12 times 5. So our number is 60. These are all the factors to make 60. And then 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 is 12. So it'd be 60 over 12. Would be before we pulled out the factors. But let's just start from here. Since 2 divided by 2 equals 1, and 3 divided by 3 equals 1, we can eliminate those factors from this problem. We can get rid of 2 divided by 2, 2 divided by 2, 3 divided by 3. And that just leaves us with the 5. And so if we reduce this is just one way of reducing this problem, is getting rid of any of the numbers that are the same. 3 over 3, 2 over 2, anything that would equal 1, let's just get rid of those, and that will reduce the number for us. Now we know before it was 60 over 12, right? And 60 divided by 12 is 5. So we know that that's going to check out. Here we get 1 times 1 times 1 equals 5, which of course just equals 5. So let's reduce this fraction. We're going to just look for 2 over 2, get rid of it. 2 over 2, get rid of it. 5 over 5, get rid of it. All we're left with then is 2 over 3. So it's reduced. It's just 2/3 is our answer because we got rid of the things that equal 1. So by grouping those factors, the things that equal 1, let's just get rid of those and then it will be reduced down to 2/3. All right, so that's the first concept. You'll practice that. And this is laying the foundation for future lessons where we'll kind of take all those factors out and then reduce by getting rid of the things that equal 1. So it's just practice for right now. Now the second part's a little trickier, using fraction manipulatives to show division of a fraction by a fraction. Now this first one, we're going to show you pictures of it and walk you through it really slowly, just so you can kind of think through it in your head, because it's the ordering of this problem that's challenging. So when we divide 10 by 5, we're answering the question, how many 5s are in 10? You might have to think about that. So 10 divided by 5, we're just saying how many 5s are in 10? Now we know 10 divided by 5 is 2, so how many 5s are in 10? 2 5s are in 10. That totally makes sense. When we divide 3/4 by 1/2, we're doing the same thing. 3/4 by 1/2, we're answering the same type of question. How many 1/2s are in 3/4? It's easy to see how many 5s are in 10. It's not quite as easy to see how many halves are in 3/4, although we're going to show you what that looks like here in a minute. Now back in lesson 50, when the divisor is a fraction, we take the 2 steps to find the answer. We first find how many divisors are in 1, and that's going to be the reciprocal. So we're just going to use reciprocals in this problem. So let's set this up. How many 1/2s are in 3/4? Now the way we would write that is 3/4 divided by 1/2. When we said how many 2s are in 10, is that what we said? No, how many 5s are in 10? We did 10 divided by 5. All right, so you're kind of flipping the order here, but you just have to think how many halves are in 3/4. That's the hardest part of this lesson, is getting that set up in the right way. So when we do that, we show a 2-step process. How many halves are needed to make 3/4? So we take a half of a whole, right? And we want to know how many of those make this. Well, we can see there's 1 there and then another half, so it's going to be 1 1/2, right? So to see the answer is more than 1 but less than 2, so if we take one of those and cut it in half again, then we get 1 plus another half. It's going to be 1 1/2. All right, so we can visually see that the answer should be 1 1/2. So 3/4 divided by 1/2 is going to be 3/2 or 1.5. The way we solve this using math is we look for the reciprocal. So 3/4 divided by 1/2, anytime you divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. That is the concept of this lesson. Once you can remember that, this is going to be so much easier, but until then you're just going to miss them all. So this is what you have to remember. Anytime you're dividing by a fraction, multiply it by the reciprocal. So if this was 7 divided by 1/2, we would still, because we're dividing by 1/2, that's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. In this case, 3/4 divided by 1/2, that's the same thing as 3/4 times 2. Now they say the first is to find the number of 1/2 in 1. How many 1/2? So 1 divided by 1/2 is 2. Okay? The only way you'd find that is multiplying by the reciprocal, timesing that by 2. 1 times 2 equals 2. 3/4 times 2. So again, we're multiplying by the reciprocal. 3 times 2 is 6. And then 4 times 1 is 4. So 6/4 reduces to 3/2 or 1.5, which is what we found earlier when we were looking at those little pictures. So we're just, again, multiplying by the reciprocal, and we're going to get 1.5. We simplified 6/4 to 3/2 and then converted it to a mixed number. So the original problem, how many 1/2 are in 3/4? So 3/4 divided by 1/2, that's the same thing as 3/4 times 2. And they say find the number of 1/2 in 1. So we did that, we found 2, and then multiply that by 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Again, I don't like how they set this up with find that. To me that's confusing. It's adding an extra step. You simply need to multiply by the reciprocal if you're dividing by a fraction. How many 3/4 are in 1/2? So now we say how many 3/4 are in 1/2. That's the same thing as 1/2 times 4/3. And I can just mentally do that. 4/3 here. 4 times 1 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 4/6 reduces to 2/3. So without even drawing it out, I know my answer is going to be 2/3. But let's look at these pictures again. How many of 3/4 is needed to make 1/2? So it's going to be less than 1 because this is bigger than 1/2. We need to cut off part of this to make it 1/2. We're just going to cut off that 1/4 part. So if we do that, if we cut off one of the 3 parts, we see that it's that 2 of the 3 parts is 1/2. So 2/3 of 3/4 is needed to make 1/2. To me, this is so confusing. I think this is part of the reason students struggle with this, is we make it harder than it needs to be. But the original problem, how many 3/4 are in 1/2? So we're going to take 1/2 times 4/3. Again, we multiply by the reciprocal if we're dividing by a fraction. That's the key. When dividing by a fraction, multiply by the reciprocal. All right, so here we change that from 1 divided by 3/4 equals 4/3. This is just showing us how to get 1. So we're multiplying 1/2 by 4/3, which gives us 4/6, which reduces to 2/3. There you go. Again, the original problem, how many 3/4 are in 1/2? 1/2 divided by 3/4. At this point, I would just say 1/2 divided by a fraction is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So 1/2 times 4/3. But they're going to say how many 3/4 is in 1? It's 4/3. So this is step 1. It's just finding a reciprocal. So that's all you're doing. And then we find that it's 4/6, reduce that to 2/3. All right, it's a lot today. You might have to go back to this lesson a few times and practice it. I might make another video just doing a few more practice problems so we can go through it together. But this is a little tricky, so if you get frustrated, don't worry. We're going to keep practicing. This is a tricky concept. Good luck.